Oh, where's Miss Sheila? Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday, September 30th, 2022 September 13th, 2022 regular governing board meeting of Deer Valley Unified School District. Call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. Please let the roll call reflect that all members are in attendance. If you would please stand if you're able to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance and followed by a moment of silence. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. Oops. Our first item tonight will be the Pathways Board Report. Dr. Zerbox. Sorry.
That's okay. Yeah. Okay, good evening. President O'Brien, members of the board, Dr. Finch, we are very pleased to be here with you this evening to talk about the many benefits that the DVUSD Pathways program has provided to many of our students over the past 5 years. This evening, you can see we have a panel of stakeholders from the Pathways program that will be providing you with some of the information, again, regarding the many benefits of the program. The slide contains a preview of what you will hear tonight. We'll begin with some context about the beginnings of the program, as we have some board members that were not here when Pathways started. We will talk about some of the growth that the program has had over the years. We then will get into the testimonials, which will come from some of our staff members, and we also have a Pathways student that is with us today. We will then share some data, and that will be from Principal Collins. And then we will end our board report with a summary of some of the challenges and opportunities for the future of Pathways. So going back in time, in the fall of 2018, Dr. Finch had charged Dr. Galligan and myself to work expeditiously to establish a program for our secondary students where the need for after-school options for our students so that they could either make up credit or get ahead, if you will, would be something that would be present for our students. It's Dr. Galligan and I, actually along with Dr. Hirschberg as well, worked quite diligently during those first few months in the fall of 2018 to make that happen. With the support of the governing board, we were able to get a solid framework for the Pathways program, so much so that we were able to hire a principal, Paula Collins, who is with us here this evening. And in the winter of 2019, we were able to have our first session. And with that, I will give the baton to Principal Collins, who will share more about the role that Pathways plays with the various stakeholders within Deer Valley Unified. Principal Collins?
Principal Collins, you're going to have to pull the microphone much closer to you so that everybody can hear you.
Thank you. President O'Brien, members of the board, and Dr. Finch, we are excited to be here tonight.
Pause for 1 second, Paula. Is that on?
Yeah, I think it's either going to be, it's going to have to be, much closer.
How's that? Right here?
Much better. Thank you.
So we'll start again. President O'Brien, members of the board, and Dr. Finch, Pathways is excited to be here tonight to give you an update on our program. We are approaching our 5th year in January 2023, and the program is an in-person learning environment that allows or provides an additional opportunity for our currently enrolled high school students to earn credit and graduate with their cohort.
Paula, pull that closer. It's still hard to hear. Pull that closer to you.
Sorry, when they can't hear you, we get texts that people who are watching the live stream.
I'm a low talker, so
So
you really need
we're going to need you to project so that everybody at home can hear this very important presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. This slide that we're looking at
There you
right
go.
now is a reflection of the team support that we get throughout the district for our program. We'll walk through it clockwise. The first 10 minutes past the hour, it's a reminder of who we serve, our currently enrolled DVUSD high school students and their families. At a quarter after the hour, we are hosted on the Boulder Creek, Berry Goldwater, and Deer Valley high schools. Many people on the high school campus contribute to our success, but I really wanted to acknowledge the maintenance team at these campuses. The additional student traffic, 21 weeks out of the school year, adds to their workload, and they have to adjust their schedule when we're on campus. The front desk teams on these campuses, and even Sandra Day O'Connor and Mountain Ridge, they will field phone calls from Pathways parents asking what day does the program start, what time does their student need to be there, what class are they in, and parents will call the homeschool campus for attendance to let us know their child won't be in class. So the communication that the front desk team provides to the Pathways administration team is crucial. The stars of the campus teams are our counselors. They review transcripts, they meet with students multiple times to secure that completed enrollment form. They will call parents to let them know when an enrollment form is coming home, and they will continually bring in students to get them to turn in that piece of paper. So they're the driver of our attendance. They're a critical component. The teachers for Pathways are
I'm going to switch you. It's still difficult to hear. Try this one here.
at half past the hour. We see our DVUSD teachers. So our middle school teachers will join us for our Block A session, which starts at 6 p.m. And our high school teachers will fill in Block A classroom and also our Block B classrooms. In the district office, multiple people support Pathways, either setting up interim testing for our students, helping us secure IEPs and 504s, sending out articles and information to promote the program. So again, Pathways does not stand alone within the district. And as Dr. Zurbach has mentioned, our governing board and the superintendent saw the need for a program like this and went ahead and provided or set that wheel in motion. So we're very appreciative of that. Our structure at Pathways through the fall and the spring, we do 7-week enrollment sessions. Students meet Monday through Thursday. It's a block schedule for 2 hours and 45 minutes. We run a June and July summer school. Those are 4-week sessions. Students meet Monday through Friday, block schedule, 3.5 hours. 2 years ago, Berry Goldwater High School transferred the baton to Pathways to run the honors summer math program. So this is a summer only opportunity. It's Deer Valley Unified Middle School students and high school students, 24-day enrollment, and they're in class approximately 6 hours a day. This is an overview of the course offerings that we provide in the Pathways program. During our first year and a half, the focus was on the 4 content areas: English language arts, mathematics, social studies, and science. Over time, we've added electives to our course offering menus, and we will continue to look and see how we can diversify that to attract more students into the program. If you look on the slide, the communications class was added this summer, and our Spanish 1-2 class was added for the spring 2022, and it was offered on 2 different campuses. So for this slide, we want to bring in the focus on the reality of pathways. If you look at our green tiles, this is information pulled from by Mary Beth Hyland, the year-end data, and the reddish tiles are from our student surveys. So the core group of our enrollment are juniors each year. 91% of the students enrolled at Pathways will earn credit. Approximately 159 Pathways students enroll in both blocks on average per year. And 74% of our students earn a C or better. If we factor in the letter grade of D, that percentage increases to 92%. The information in the red tiles comes from a student survey. So 94% of our students feel like their efforts in class are recognized. 94% believe that they have a warm and welcoming classroom environment. 92% feel like they have a connection or a sense of belonging in the classroom. And 87% of our students would recommend the program to their peers. Moving on to milestones, this graph shows the different milestones hit. In our first year, we opened our doors. Year 2, we added a counselor position to our administrative team, which really provided an avenue for Pathways to help our students after school hours. The counselor has played a critical role in that, even at times contacting families and referring them to services. Year 3, we were given the opportunity to manage the mathematics honors program. This passing of the baton, I believe, gave some legitimacy to the program within the district and with the public. And it also opened up an avenue to service a different set of students that we would not normally come into contact with. And then in year 4, we added Deer Valley High School as a host campus. So this provided additional course offerings during our 7-week enrollment periods and a much more student-friendly choice course offering menu. So more opportunities for students within those 7-week runs. So we're going to move on to our testimonials. Our students get a student survey at the end of the 7 weeks. And the very last line item, we ask students to give their teachers a shout out. So it's the students' opportunities to let the teacher know anonymously how the teacher impacted their learning or what they enjoyed about the class. So this is a sample of what students have provided feedback for. And one of the joys at the end of a enrollment session is I get to go into the survey and read all of these comments and send emails out to my teachers and say, look what you did. Great job. So that's always joyful. Tonight we have 1 student and 3 teachers with Pathways. Unfortunately, Talon was not able to make our presentation. So what we'd like to do is have each speaker introduce themselves and then provide their testimonial on their experience with Pathways.
Mhm. Hello, my name is Hector Romero, and today I'm here to talk about my experience with the DVUSD Pathways program. The DVUSD Pathways program allowed me to recover some of my credits that I lost through my first year of high school. I'm a student moved in the first year of high school. I was in Mexico. I grew up in Mexico, and I didn't get those credits from my classes in Mexico, so I had to take another step or make something to recover those credits. And the program helped me a lot. Now I'm a senior, and I can get out early and spend more time with my family or any other activities. And also, the teachers in the program made me feel very welcome, and the environment was also really good. Thank you.
President O'Brien, members of the board, and Dr. Finch. Thank you. I feel like I'm breaking the rules by talking and teaching from behind my teacher's desk here, but I'm going to do my best. That was the whole thought I had going there. I, I may have to. I might get a little fidgety. My story starts all the way back when I was a high schooler. I wanted to thank you. My father was a school board member as well. And even though there were some really fun aspects of that, such as receiving my diploma from my father, I remember large stacks of data and reports that they had to read, and phone calls and stops at the house. And what the bigger part of that story is he was introverted. And I asked him many times, why did you do that to yourself? And he said, well, sometimes we have to step outside of our comfort zone and do hard things. And he also said, it's important to serve your community. I see you, and I know a lot of people don't see that aspect of it, so thank you. That also leads to my why. I've taught for 22 years in history, just about every subject, currently world history. And this summer I had the pleasure of working at Pathways, and I thought to myself, after 22 years, I've got discipline down, and I can do hard things and serve my community in a little different way than I had before. I think my notion of Pathways summer school and night school was maybe a little bit like the book The Outsiders. I was waiting for Pony Boy to be in my class. And frankly, that couldn't be further from the truth. What I found was, in the most loving sense, is that it was a little bit more like the Breakfast Club. The students there, I had jocks and students who dressed their own way, and everyone in between, and they all gelled. I have goosebumps right now. It was absolutely amazing. Students from all different schools, eager to learn, and that didn't happen by accident. This certainly, not to discredit anything I was doing in there, but these students wanted to be there. There were some for credit recovery, some wanted to get ahead, some had transferred in from other districts and needed the credits. But regardless, it was a wonderful learning environment. I don't think I had any students who dropped the course in either session. That was amazing. Long days, and to really get to know their story and their why. Wow. it was wonderful. The culture at Pathways is amazing. There's a very strict set of rules and discipline, and students like that. But there was enough room for individuality, and thank you, Ms. Collins, for establishing that. She allowed me to do what all teachers hope for, is to go into your classroom and just worry about teaching and educating kids and loving on kids. She also has a wonderful staff who held that culture as well. I got to know, outside of the students in my own room, many students in the other classrooms as well. In fact, I could think of one that didn't have me in class, but he'd wait every day in the parking lot just to kind of chat with me. And when I ran into him recently, he said, Mr. Me, he's like, I remembered something you said. He said, I fell, but you always told me, what are you going to do when you get up? And that kept me going. And that was just amazing. I mean, it absolutely contributes to my why. So maybe my only disappointment was I went in thinking this was going to be a really challenging environment. And in fact, it was a wonderful environment. So I'm going to have to try somewhere else. But I'm very excited to go back and do it again. So thank you for your time. And again, thank you for your service.
Kind of step a little bit here too, kind of on the shorter side of life. President O'Brien, members of the board, and Dr. Finch, it's my honor to be here to share with you some of the amazing things that happen at Pathways. I've been teaching for over 30 years now, and I'm going to get emotional because it's just the benefits. I'm really trying not to do this. The benefits of working with this group of students are exactly what he's talking about. My personal list of why I do Pathways is huge, And it has everything to do with the over 100 and something students I've worked with in the past 3 years. Connecting with these kids often occurs in the very first session. Names are memorized. They start coming up with nicknames for each other. I've been called Miss J. I've been called, hey, Miss. And I'm like, yeah, but you can call me like Mrs. Johnson. It's okay. No, you're Miss. And it was a level of respect. I still see that student, and it's always, hey, Miss. I'm like, hey, honey. um, it's really pretty amazing what happens when you pour yourself into students. We all know it happens, but it really happens during our structured breaks. I spend time talking to the kids, having casual conversations. One of my students said, hey, I work over at such and such ice cream shop. And I'm like, I'm not going to turn down ice cream. I'll see you later. And those are the types of things that I think are really important, is being there for our students. And Pathways has allowed me to make connections far beyond the students of Mountain Ridge. I've gotten to know students at all of our campuses. Let's see what else. This is very nerve-wracking. I was also asked to comment on how do we determine that learning actually takes place in our classroom. It's the same way as it takes place in my regular daytime classroom. There's mastery of skills. It's demonstrated with projects, rubrics, conversations, questions, exit tickets, spending 2 to 3 class periods coming up with appropriate questions to interview our superintendent. During our days of COVID, students spent a great deal of time trying to figure out how to formulate questions that would help them to understand what COVID was when we were coming back to campus, all that kind of stuff. And they really appreciated having that opportunity. Accommodating the needs of all of our students is the cornerstone of Pathways, not just academically, but also socially. Their needs are met emotionally. I'm sorry. Sorry. I'm very passionate about it, obviously. They demonstrate their emotional needs with hugs, with high fives, with being there. Their emotional growth through writing projects, weekly reflections, their student pride is reflected in their willingness to share. They don't just share their work with me, they share their work with everybody, because they allow me to post to, Twitter. They want me to put it up in the hallways. They want to share. So yeah, there's many benefits to Pathways, and I appreciate your time.
Well, good evening. I'm Basilio Lopez. I can't add any more than what they have said about what this program does for the students, what this district has created for the students. I think as a district, we're covering all the bases that parents might see other schools do. We got a great day school program, obviously. We now have online, and we have Pathways. I have 3 boys. My oldest boy, he went through the typical high school. I live outside of the school district, but graduated from Liberty, and I have my middle boy. He's 23 now, and I bring him up because he graduated from a program like this that helped him out. And so when I got the opportunity to do this, when I was called on by Ms. Collins, I was excited to do it, and it's been a great opportunity for me. It has. So I've been here since the beginning. You see, one of the founding teachers here, and it's been a great opportunity not only for the students but also as a teacher. It forces you to become a better teacher. And part of that is a lot of the things that we've kind of done and created over the past few years. Well, one, you have to connect with the students. It's a lot easier, but you have to because there's such a small, it's usually typically smaller, this classroom size. And you're around these students and you can talk to every single one of them every single day. And you get to know them. I mean, you memorize all their names within like the first 2 days. You can't do that, the typical school. You have, well over 100 students, but it really is a great program. But over the years, my role has transitioned not just as a teacher, but also a person to go to for ideas. Ms. Collins has actually put together from the very beginning a great team of teachers. That's been her goal. From the very beginning, put a great team of teachers that not only teach but also help with ideas. This new program here that we've created, and it's still in the works, and we're getting better and better and better all the time. And so in my role, I've changed from say, hey, okay, things are going good in the classroom, but what else can we do? How do we get more students to learn about the program and to see help how helpful it could be for them? Um, we met and we're like, let's do something with the website. So I helped out with the website. We had some ideas to kind of get things out there, make it easier for parents, make it easier for students to find out more about the program and what we offer and what we did. We've done that over the years. Then recently, I've also helped out and over the summer been a point person to go to on the Deer Valley High School campus, help out with that. So when parents are involved and they need to pick up kids or they have questions or, just helping out with the Chromebook carts and things like that, I've been that person. So my role has definitely been very flexible over the years in this program. It's in building this program, but um, yeah, I can't say enough. Like this doesn't do the program justice. If you guys are a teacher, then you see what the students would say. You hear what they say day to day, and it obviously helps them get their credits, like the young man said in the end there. But I think even more importantly, like what it did with my son, what it did a lot of my students, I noticed it gives them confidence, and gives them confidence not when they succeed in this program, then in school, and that just carries on after high school. And that's what I see the most, and I'm proud to be part of that. And it has made me a better teacher with organization, connecting with kids, um, just all the above. And so I'm really proud of the fact that I'm a part of this program, and continue to be. And um, I would like to also add that I don't think any of this would have been possible to be as successful as it has been without the guidance, the leadership, and daily, I mean, and I'm not even exaggerating, daily communication from Ms. Collins. There isn't a day that goes by where even if she's not in the classroom, I don't get an email. How are things going? Is there anything I can do to help you out? Every single day, that communication is there. And then every week, even though she's on different campuses, she's all over the place, she makes it a point to come to the classroom. And the kids don't get that from principals every day. It's not possible, in the large school setting. But she comes to the classroom every week, a few times a week, even times, and the kids know her. She sets the rules, the expectations, but also we have a pretty good program where we give the kids, verbal incentives and just like rewards and just the shout outs. Weekly student of the week, and I saw you doing good things, and all those have been ideas that she's had, and just her presence in the classroom and the students seeing that it's like a family unit. Principals there all the time, the teachers all communicate. We're a good collaborative team together. We all help each other out, and it's a great program that the district has put together, and I think the kids see that, and we see how we're there to help them out, and so I just want to say thank you, thank all of you, and I appreciate it, and the kids appreciate it, I'm sure as well.
It's my turn to cry. I want to say thank you to my Pathways team for.
Oh, loud voice. Sorry. Yeah.
I want to say thank you to my Pathways team tonight. It was powerful testimony. Everyone at this table works really hard. Students work extremely hard trying to build up that endurance to go that extra 3 hours. And some of our students will take both blocks, so they actually are doing an extra 6 hours to the school day. Our teaching team, they are so passionate about the program, and their flexibility has been a lifesaver for the past 9 months. So I feel like I'm a very fortunate individual. Here is a collage of Pathways teachers. You might know one or two of these individuals on the board. Now we're going to head into our program overview. This slide, or the data, is a depiction of 12th graders who enroll in Pathways during their senior year in order to graduate on time. It does not include students who may have taken a Pathways course their freshman, their sophomore, or their junior year. So from this bar graph, we can see that Boulder Creek and Berry Goldwater, many of their 12th graders attend the program. And then we have Deer Valley, Mountain Ridge, and Sandra Day O'Connor, who also utilize the program. This is another depiction of the previous slide, a pie chart that shows the percentage of seniors attending Pathways to meet graduation requirements. So Boulder Creek and Berry Goldwater send about 33% of their students to Pathways that senior year. If we think back to the previous slide where we stated that juniors are our core enrollment group, this is a depiction of the grade levels and the students who take both of our blocks. So again, our juniors are really leveraging the Pathways program to get them in a good position for that May graduation their senior year. How many courses do students take in a school year? The bulk of our students take 1 to 3 classes. For students who need additional opportunity, they will take 4 to 6 classes in a school year. And you really can't see it on that graph, but we actually had one student who took 9 courses in a year. And that was early on in our program history. So that's a little trivia, Pathways trivia. Program challenges, we're going to follow the graph counterclockwise. Our first challenge is the other available learning options. We have those in district and outside of district. We compete for students in chairs and seats there. We have struggled on 1 or 2 campuses and green lighting all 5 course offerings in the past year and a half, and that is contributed to unstable enrollment numbers and the changing dynamics of the teacher hiring pool. Also, when we go outside externally, there is not a lot of interest from external candidates to teach with Pathways outside the district. Our changing societal conditions, the pandemic, threw everyone for a loop. We were fortunate as a program that we had the flexibility to pivot and capture students quickly. The challenge there was when we went back into the classroom, the in-person learning, we still had parents who were fearful of sending their students to an in-person learning environment. And currently, we are monitoring the rising inflation, specifically gas prices. This will affect students and their transportation to our program. And finally, the 4th challenge is our stakeholder knowledge. This is the best kept secret in the district. It truly is for our high school students. I have parents that called during May to talk about the program, and the question was, why haven't I heard about the program? So that is definitely an area of improvement that we all can focus on. If we're able to expand our program, then that brings us more opportunities. So our first goal is to capture that consistent and stable enrollment. Once we have that, we're able to open up the program on other host campuses. During the inception, the goal of Dr. Finch has always been to have Pathways on all 5 campuses. Before we can really have that conversation and make it happen, we need to have consistent enrollment. Our administration team has struggled keeping people in positions. So we are in need of a secretary right now. And then once we have that in place, we can grow that and turn that position into an advantage. And then the counseling position, as we grow and stabilize our enrollment in the future, I can see the counselor being a 0.5 at least to help cover campuses and also assist the larger number of students that we have. Program partnerships, we need to look at the transportation options for pathways in the near future and begin to develop community partners to support the program and provide incentives for students. And finally, our course offering, we want to continue to diversify that group. And also, is it possible to do a field trip for summer school to promote interest in our summer school program? Maybe it's the biology class or mathematics and an engineer firm. But those are some avenues that we'd like to explore.
And with that, President O'Brien, that would conclude our board report. You can see through the testimonials of the stakeholders who are here tonight that there are many benefits to our Pathways program. The slide showed we have several hundred students that have been able to graduate on time because of the support that the board gave to the program's creation 4.5 years ago. And so with that, we thank you, and we would be glad to entertain any questions at this point.
Thank you all. Questions, board members, or comments? Mrs. Paperman?
It sounds like a great team. Thank you for supporting our teachers. Like, I love hearing when teachers say, oh, I love grader, and, we're there to teach. And, I'm a teacher, and yes, in the classroom, that's, our dream to, just give us the opportunity to teach. My question is, so there's 3 high schools where these programs are in place?
Correct.
Okay, so transportation, do students get transported there, or?
Well, our Block A session starts at 3 o'clock.
Okay.
5:45. So we schedule freshman and sophomore classes during that time period.
Oh,
Because we know
okay.
they're already on campus. And that way parents just need to make a loop and pick them up after work. Our junior and
Okay.
senior classes, we slot in the Block B, 6 to 8:45 p.m. because many of those students have transportation.
Okay.
But with the rising gas prices, we're going to have to really monitor that and rethink that possibly.
Okay, and every high school has the opportunity to take this extra support
Correct.
classes to graduate.
Each high school is given a certain number of seats to
Okay.
fill. And then if there's an overflow, those students go on the wait list.
On the waiting list.
Should let's say Sandra Day O'Connor only use 1 seat in an English language arts 3-4 class, and there's a wait list at Boulder Creek or Barry Goldwater, Deer Valley, I will contact them and say, do you anticipate any additional enrollment? The answer is no. Then we start moving students, make sure that the enrollment and the class fills.
Hopefully, we'll have this program in every high school. Thank you.
Mrs. Reed?
How big are class sizes?
We call them compact size classrooms. So our goal is 20 students in the classroom. We learned during the first spring session in summer that the attrition rate in the first week and a half, we could lose anywhere from 2 to 8 students. So if there's enrollment, we will over-enroll. And then during that first week and a half, students realize the endurance that's required, and they may decide it's not the right time for them to take pathways. They may revisit us in the summer. So if we can over-enroll, we will. And the goal is to get at least 20 students.
Awesome. And I just have a comment. I sent one of my kiddos from work to do some pathways classes, not this past summer, but the summer before. And actually, I said, you have to do this. You're going to take 6 weeks off. And we've got it covered, and you're going to do this. And he said, okay. And he was on his own, had moved out at 17, and he completed those. And I got to see him at the beginning of his senior year last year, and he came up and he said, I did it, and everything's good, and I got ahead, and I'm only going to school half day so that I can work full time. And then at graduation, I got to see him again, and he came up and he gave me the biggest hug. And he said, "Thank you so much for making me go to Pathways. Like, it made all the difference. I'm on my first step to getting my dream job. I just got hired at the hospital." So his dream is to be a nurse, and he graduated with his AA, got his CNA, and is now working at Phoenix Children's Hospital and going to school. So the work that you do matters, and the lives of the students that you touch, I mean, it's powerful and it's life changing. And that student, you guys changed his course of his life, and for him to be able to graduate and be on the path to a career and have hope and have a future, and that's why you do what you do. So, and I know that there's dozens more students that have stories just like that, but thank you for taking care of our students in the way that you do, and for giving them that hope for the future, and helping them and meeting them in ways when they learn differently. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. And I just want to say, my role is just keeping it all together. The real work is done in the classroom with the students and the teachers. And I'm extremely fortunate with the team and the teachers that continually come to Pathways, and the teachers that want to try our program.
Mrs. Fisher?
You know, it's funny, we just went to the law conference and they had a show about kids that were especially touched by an individual. Kids are touched by an individual. And it's obviously that's you. And see, now I'm going to be the crier. I'm not going to cry. There's so many kids that are lost, and they need to be caught, because they fall through the cracks, no matter how much we try, no matter how many caring teachers we have. And I want to thank you for filling that gap. You're right, there's nothing like high school. I remember the kids used to flop on the counter at the bookstore going, oh, lost my badge. It was like a 20-minute drama that they lost their badge. They are the funnest to teach. I know the little ones are cute, but the older ones are fun. A couple of things. You said that it was the best kept secret. Now, what do you mean by that? The reason I'm asking before you tell me is it a best kept secret because it's just awesome? Or is it a best kept secret because we need to get more information about you out?
We need to get more information out to our stakeholders.
Okay, that's what I was afraid it was, because I really hope that we support that. That's one of the biggest problems that students do have, is they don't know the programs exist. My daughter graduated from our district before I was involved in the board, and then we paid for her to go to beauty school because she didn't know she could have taken it here and graduated with it for free. Yeah, so 20 grand later, and she doesn't do that industry anymore.
To be fair, the last 2.5 years, it's a roller coaster.
That's
So
everywhere.
I feel like we are finally getting on steady ground, and we can begin to really focus again on the growth of the program.
Good. And then the other question I had was, I mean, everybody has a hard time staffing. That's everywhere. But do you have a harder time staffing because maybe there's a misconception about what the work will be, or what the time is, or the students, or?
We have a few challenges with staffing. Okay. So currently, many of the teachers in the district at the high school level are 6/5. Okay. So that's a very long day. Mm-hmm. There is a possibility that the enrollment through the counseling base may be affected, because I learned today that at least 3 high schools, their counselors are 6/5. So that's one thing. The second thing is many of our teachers also coach. So the season begins or ends our first 2 weeks. So there's that overlap.
Is there something we could do to assist, or something we could encourage to help?
I believe that as we gain steady ground, actually visiting campuses, I would love for our administrators to talk when they're on campus about Pathways, whether it's the high school principal or they go to a department meeting. The more talk, the more likely new teachers will come to the program. And believe me, the teachers that teach for me, they do talk. It's a hard sell sometimes. It really is.
They just got to get hooked, because it's fun.
They just have to come and experience.
It's fun.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, if there was a thing where, we can mentor other teachers or at least kind of show them. I think that a lot of them, it's first it's block programming, with the 2 hours, 2.5 hours or more, and then being after school, and a little bit about what type of students we're going to have. So there are those reservations when I try to get other teachers to come join the program and try it out when we've needed teachers. But um, if I can convey that, or maybe on a larger scale, some teachers, if they knew, it's not bad. It's actually enjoyable. It'll make you a better teacher, and even if they felt like they could have a mentor, some sort of mentorship program, I would definitely be willing to do that.
Well, the good news is you shared it with any teachers who are watching tonight. So that's a step in the right direction. Mrs. Ordway.
I just wanted to make a quick comment. As with many of the programs that we start, they start because we have seen a need in our students where we haven't been able to meet them yet. So Pathways was born from that, and I'm glad that you have appreciated it and you're going strong with it. So it's for so many different students, and again, Basilio and Johnson, you look at me, I'm going to cry, so stop looking at me. And Scott and Paula, the passion that you have drives the purpose, which helps you out. So you bring that back to your day jobs, and it works for everyone. So I know that we have probably 3/4, that might not be true, Jenna will correct me, of our high school teachers that are working 6/5, and then please come work in the afternoon from 3 to 5:30, and then maybe do another block. So that might be it, but also the students that you have also went to school all day long, and then they're gonna come in to do it, so that might be a way to, kind of say, hey, let's do this. So I thank you for your passion and your leadership and your participation. Make sure you talk the program up, okay? Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Hector, for sharing your perspective as a student. I think that was really important to hear, and I appreciate Dr. Collins and Scott and Deborah and Basilio for coming and sharing your passion for our students. This is an incredible program, and I'm glad that it's you all are able to meet our students where we need you to. So thank you again for your time and the presentation this evening. Dr. Collins, did you have something to say?
Just thank you for having us.
Our pleasure.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Thank you, Dr. Zerbach. All right, the major switch out. So our next presentation is going to be our early childhood presentation, and Dr. McCusker is going to kick that off.
Good evening, governing board members, President O'Brien, Dr. Finch, and the community. We are so very excited this evening to talk about our early childhood program in Deer Valley Unified School District. We have a panel this evening that will be presenting some information as well as taking questions. Melissa Weinman, who is our principal from Village Meadows, Janet Zeke, our manager for early childhood, Lisa Kuntz, early childhood coordinator, and Nancy Persons. So we will be presenting this evening, and I do not have a clicker. I do. Pardon me. It magically appeared. Thank you. So our first introduction for many of our district parents, and as you will find out in this presentation this evening, some parents who are not currently residing in our district, the very first introduction that they have to Deer Valley Unified School District is through our preschool programming. And so this evening, we're going to be talking about our diversity in our early childhood programming and how we've really grown throughout the years. This is a darling picture. There's some realia in this presentation. So this is Amy Weimer. This is one of our grant preschool programs at our Constitution Elementary School with all those darling children. So our outcomes for this evening, we are going to talk about the basics of early childhood. Some of it is Child Find, which is our legal obligation, the services that we provide, our 3 diverse programs in early childhood, as well as our classroom snapshots to just give you a larger picture of what we do. So first, let's talk about Child Find. That is a responsibility that we have. It's a federal obligation, and we do an exceptional job of that in Deer Valley Unified School District. So every 45 calendar days, we screen multiple sets of children. Our families make appointments through our early childhood program, and they actually come to district office. And a very large team of professionals come and participate in the early childhood screening process. This includes our early childhood special educators, as well as our very large itinerant team, including school psychologists, district audiologists, our school nurses, our occupational therapists, our speech language pathologists, and more. And what we do is we walk our parents and our children through the assessment so we can better meet the needs of our students and perhaps identify them with perceived disability. And so this informal process looks at 5 developmental areas. First, the cognitive area, the physical area, the adaptive area, the social emotional area, and the communication area. So these are just some of our Child Find numbers from our 2021 and 22 school year. You will see that these numbers this year are already quite large. But for last year, we screened 388 children. 430 children were referred for evaluation, and 356 of our young children qualified for preschool special education programming in Deer Valley. To date, as of August, we have already screened 98 students. So that will give you an idea that our numbers are exploding in our early childhood program this school year. So this is a very large graph, and I apologize. It looks like Mr. Miglerino's font, but we did want to showcase what makes us extraordinary in Deer Valley Unified School District in our early childhood programming. We do things in an extraordinary way, and we get better results. So when we look at ourselves compared to our other NEVIC school districts, you will see Paradise Valley, Scottsdale, Peoria, and Dysart are a few of the districts that we compared ourselves to. So when we look at our number of properly certified teachers, we have 42 teachers in comparison to the other districts. Our types of programs are more diverse. We have developmental preschool. We also have a Head Start program and our grant preschool classrooms, which you will learn more about this evening. We have exposure to typical peers in all of our early childhood programs, and that's very important. Not only is it a federal indicator, but it is something that helps not only our typical students, but our students with disabilities make more progress. And our current enrollment is a ginormous 810 students, and that's just right now. So that gives you a forecast as we look at the beginning of September. The potential for growth in our early childhood program is quite large at this point. And we really adhere to a more inclusive practice for our service delivery model, where we are relying upon our properly certified teachers as well as our itinerant staff to deliver services. So you can take a look at this graph at more length, but it really does showcase what makes us stand apart. So now I will be passing over to Nancy, and she will be talking about our diverse early childhood programs.
Can you hear me? Okay. President O'Brien, members of the board, and Dr. Finch. My name is Nancy Persons, and I am an early childhood special education teacher, itinerant, and mentor in the early childhood department. The early childhood department consists of 3 types of programs: developmental preschool, Head Start, and the grant-funded preschool. That's new this year. We will be discussing these 3 programs during the presentation. All of our preschool classrooms are licensed with the Department of Health Services. And that means that we adhere to very high standards. The classrooms are subject to spot inspections by Arizona Department of Health Services. And all of our personnel carry around or have in the classroom their red binder that we all have, including subs and any employees who come into the classrooms, where we keep our personnel files, diplomas, first aid, CPR, fingerprinting, TB testing, all that kind of stuff that Department of Health Services requires. Let's see. Each year, the classrooms, let's see, I already said that. CPR and first aid. Okay, next slide. So all of our teachers, as was displayed in that graph, are properly certified in developmental preschool. You have to have an early childhood special education certification, or you can be properly certified by having an early childhood general education certificate or endorsement and a special education cross-categorical certificate. And then in our Head Start classrooms, they are also certified with the Department of Education in early childhood, and our grant classrooms are also certified. We have a couple teachers that are going through the process of getting their degree, and so they were able to step in, but all of our other teachers are properly certified. Our teachers stand apart from others because they are specialists in early childhood and are certified with the Department of Education. In fact, we have a difficult time finding teachers to teach in the developmental preschool classrooms with a proper certification because it is so specialized. Next slide. So what is early childhood special education? Eligible children are entitled to a free and appropriate public education at no cost to the family, with programming designed to help children meet challenging objectives alongside with their typically developing peers. Early childhood special education is like all other special education classrooms throughout the district, except the students are ages 3 through 5. A team of professionals screen, refer for evaluation, conduct comprehensive developmental assessments, develop individual education programs, and place students in their least restrictive environment. Next slide. So in developmental preschool, we're going to take a moment to talk about these classrooms. In our developmental preschool classrooms, we strive to have students with typical development attend as peer role models to be with this teacher, the students that have special education needs. This is called an inclusive model. Most of our developmental preschool classrooms have anywhere from 1 to 8 peers who pay tuition to attend. The exposure to peers benefits both groups of children within these classrooms. Children with disabilities benefit from inclusive classrooms because it improves social and emotional behaviors, helps the special education students to achieve more, gain confidence, and develop independence. Typically, developing children who are exposed to inclusion at an early age gain leadership skills, learn to help others and gain empathy, develop positive attitudes towards their diverse peers, and are more likely to be accepting of children with disabilities. Within each classroom, there is the properly certified teacher and 2 paraprofessionals. Other professionals such as speech language pathologists, occupational therapists, physical therapists, and teachers of the hearing and vision impaired also come into the classrooms on occasion to meet the needs of their students. Next slide. So this is one of our developmental preschool teachers, Annie Ramos, and she is a developmental preschool teacher at Copper Creek. She was named Rookie of the Year in 2020. Annie earned her bachelor's degree in early childhood and early childhood special education at ASU. And then she earned her master's degree in autism spectrum disorder at Grand Canyon University. Annie says she loves teaching developmental preschool because not only do I get to work with the cutest, most fun age, but I am lucky enough to begin the learning journey for these kiddos. Our preschool classrooms are the first experience that our families have with Deer Valley, and we are glad that we have amazing teachers like Annie to help them through that journey. So some more numbers to throw at you. In developmental preschool, we currently have 614 enrolled students. That includes 393 students that have an IEP and 221 peers that attend, that pay tuition to attend. We also have some students that are on a scholarship to attend at some of our Title I schools. These numbers will grow as we screen and evaluate students throughout this school year. We currently have 18 students with IEPs that have moved into Deer Valley and placed in one of our developmental preschool classrooms since June. We also currently have 4 students with IEPs on open enrollment from other districts. We have 1 teacher and 2 paras in each classroom, and we have 31 classrooms on 21 campuses, 31 developmental preschool teachers, and 62 paraprofessionals. So some of our teachers reached out to some of their parents and got some amazing responses. This parent said, Ruby is doing amazing in kindergarten. Her kindergarten teacher told me that she can tell which children attended preschool because they are more attentive and no classroom procedures. She feels very comfortable on the school grounds, and since she knows her way around, her teacher depends on her to walk other students to the nurse or the office, and she's always happy and proud to be helpful. I couldn't be happier with her success this year, and I know this wouldn't have been possible if not for her time in preschool. And the fact that our kindergarten teachers can recognize which students have attended preschool and which students have says a great deal about the quality of our preschool classrooms and just the importance of early childhood education. Another parent said, starting my child in developmental preschool was the best decision we have made. The amount of growth we have seen is amazing. She received services for speech, but honestly, she gets support in all areas. The small class size and additional educators in the room shows her confidence has increased and she loves going to school. We are thankful for the special education community at Deer Valley and the teachers who truly care about our children. This is another quote that talks about the impact that our developmental preschool teams have on our students and families. My son has shown true joy being in developmental preschool. He talks about the team of people who care for him every day lovingly, so I know he's happy to go. In fact, he thought about school the entire summer, asking about his teachers, therapists, and classmates. I feel fortunate to be part of it, such a dedicated and caring community of educators. So just a little look at how we've grown. We have some numbers. So from 2014 and 15, we had 550 students on IEPs, 146 peers, and 25 classrooms. Then 2 years later, we had 593 students on IEPs, 107 peers, and 28 classrooms. Last year, we had 800 students. We had 533 students on IEPs, 267 peers, and 31 classrooms. So you can see that we've added 6 classrooms in the last 7 years. The importance of adding those typical peers was to help us get to a least restrictive environment of a 50-50 model, which is something that we're really striving to do so that we can put children on IEPs in a lesser restrictive environment. They have access to more typically developing peer role models, then that's a lesser restrictive environment for them. So that's something that we've strived to do. And now I'll turn the time over to Lisa, our coordinator for coaching and professional development.
Hopefully I'm loud enough. President O'Brien, members of the board, and Dr. Finch, I get the honor of talking quickly about our Head Start program. It is exciting to be a part of this team. I am the newest member of the team. And with our Head Start programs, as you can see by our pictures, we have at Village Meadows, a group of students. It's science time and they're experimenting with magnets. We try to, the next picture shows you our rich environment. So there's good learning opportunities and lots of time to play, which we know with our little ones, that's how they learn best. And through the play, and then the next picture, is of a writing center. All of our preschool classrooms have very similar makeup of the furniture and the opportunities. And there's kids at the writing center, which they have opportunities every day to use. And then our final picture there is a group at, I'm going to draw a blank. Anyway, they're playing in the sensory bin and they're actually using tongs, which works on their motor skills. And they're looking specifically in the bins for the spiders. So part of the importance of our Head Start programs is the understanding that parents have to qualify, kids have to qualify. And our kids who qualify for our Head Start programs are at or below 135% poverty level, the federal poverty level. We have a lot of kids in our district that benefit from these programs and really need our support so that they can have a rich school career and graduate and do all the things and opportunities in life that they can. In order to support the children and the families, our teachers in our Head Start programs visit 2 times a year. During the visits, they provide educational materials. We provide books in their backpacks and full of materials and school supplies, their toothbrushes. We provide a lot that teachers do when they do these visits so that these families have an equal shake. During these visits, when they talk with the families about needs in the family, needs of the students, they help set goals, which a lot of our families aren't used to doing. They set goals so that we can support the students' growth. At the end of the day, we just want to make things better for kids. The family and the teachers also work with a Head Start caseworker to improve all aspects of the family's life. In Head Start, their breakfast is free, their lunch is free. Students attend Monday through Thursday for 6.5 hours. It's a lot more than what a lot of preschool programs are doing out there for kids. The teachers are certified. We keep bringing that up because it's important. They also have a teaching assistant, and our classrooms run about 20 kids. This is one of our superstar Head Start teachers, Jessica McInerney, practicing that name. If you see up in the corner right there, 27 years. She's been in Deer Valley teaching Head Start 27 years. It's Jessica up in the corner with her kids. Something that was exciting, her quote, it just really struck me. So I'm going to read it from my paper. I apologize. Jessica says, "I am living proof that our program has truly changed the lives of not only our students, but the family as well. I started with Head Start as a parent volunteer when my daughter attended in 19. And Head Start put me through school. That's what Nancy alluded to with a couple of our teachers. Supported me as I earned my associate's degree, and then even further as I went on to earn my bachelor's degree and became a certified teacher in 2012. To say that Deer Valley has had an impact not only on all of the children's lives, but our entire family is an understatement. And I know that it's not just my family that's been changed for the better due to our program. Over the past 28 years of my career in Head Start, I know we have helped and encouraged more than 500 other families to improve their lives and their well-being. And it's something we could not be more proud of in our early childhood department." And then her quote, "My child's teacher has inspired confidence and faith in my child as a learner. To be frank, we have avoided moving over the past year because we did not want to disrupt this wonderful relationship." So our teachers matter. Right now in our Head Start, we have 100 students enrolled. We have 5 Head Start teachers, and our 5 classrooms are on 3 campuses. We are so excited to keep expanding this program. We're currently at Constitution, Sunrise, all of a sudden I'm drawing a blank, and Village Meadows, thank you. Again, we have 5 teachers, and our Head Start classrooms live on the following, we just said the campuses. Go ahead, next slide, thank you. We're extraordinary because of the services that we provide. And we provide those services in that 6.5 hours a day. We meet all the performance standards required by Head Start. Not only do we have district requirements, we have Head Start requirements, we have licensing requirements. We have a lot of different agencies making sure kids get what they need. Some of the other activities that we do include fatherhood events, dad's literacy night, family literacy bingo, family picnics, and mom's math night. And all these things are made possible through our Head Start programs. Thank you. And I get to pass it on to our amazing leader in early childhood, Janzi.
President O'Brien, members of the board, Dr. Finch, I'm going to share a little bit more information about all of our programs. As you can see here, that Deer Valley became a delegate agency for the city of Phoenix 30 years ago. In 1992 was when we signed our first agreement with Head Start. We're going to be celebrating our milestone anniversary with a picnic in April of 2023, and you're all invited to come out and join us. We do that annual picnic every year, and the kids and the families all look forward to it, and we get quite a great turnout. Head Start students began receiving services on November 9th, 1992. Here are some newspaper articles that I found when our old office resided out in the warehouse. I located these newspaper clippings, and I just thought they were so cool. We celebrated our 25th anniversary 5 years ago, and I had just located these articles at that time. So here we are pulling them out again 5 years later. The first Head Start classrooms that we had were located on Constitution, Esperanza, and Village Meadows. At the time, we had 60 students attending 4 hours per day. So now we have 100 students, and they attend for 6.5 hours a day. So a little bit changed over time. This year, we applied for 2 new preschool grants and received both of them. The High Quality Early Learning Grant is provided through ADE via the Department of Economic Security. It enables us to provide full-day preschool to 80 additional students. The Early Childhood Expansion Grant is funded through the City of Phoenix Head Start, and this grant made it possible for us to provide 40 students with full-day preschool. So both of these programs are tuition free, and it gave us 120 extra slots that we didn't have in the past. Here's our big number of these 2 grants over the this year and next year. We will be receiving $4,359,332 of funding to run these 2 programs. Here are some of the ways that DVUSD Early Childhood is spending this amazing grant money. We set up 6 brand new classrooms over the summer with totally new materials, furniture, supplies, curriculum. We're also working on putting in outdoor classrooms at our early childhood schools, and then we're providing professional development for the teachers as well. This is Diane Harsh. She's one of our grant preschool teachers. She teaches at Sunrise this year, and she's got a gen ed preschool classroom, but she does have some students in there that are on IEPs as well. Families have to meet the income qualifications to be part of her classroom. Diane stated that Deer Valley has the best early childhood department because teachers, assistants, and administration are so supportive and caring not only to the students but to each other. Diane's been a teacher for 20 years in kindergarten and 5 years in preschool. I think I reversed that though. Sorry. Our grant preschool programs have a capacity for 120 students, and just like our Head Start classrooms, our grant classrooms are located at Village Meadows, Constitution, and Sunrise. The grant teachers implement the Curiosity Corner curriculum just like the Head Start teachers. Here we go. A picture is worth 1,000 words. And this picture is showing a class that was learning how to sneeze into the crook of their arm. Super cute. These teachers in these classrooms are amazing. They teach health and safety practices such as hand washing, toothbrushing, pedestrian safety. They actually brush their teeth every day in the classroom, and then they take home a little homework chart to brush their teeth at home as well. In total, DVUSD's early childhood program currently has 614 students in the developmental preschool classrooms. This number includes 393 students who receive special ed and 221 preschool peers who pay tuition to attend the program. We have 100 students enrolled in Head Start and 96 students currently enrolled in the ECEE and the HQEL grant classrooms. The big number is 810 total preschoolers at this point in time. That number will grow tremendously over the course of the year. That's just our beginning number. I'm going to pass it off to one of our favorite principals who has multiple classrooms on the campus.
We can just skip that slide altogether. That was a bad hair day. Good evening, President O'Brien, members of the board, and Dr. Finch. So I was asked to be here to talk about the programs that I have on my campus, and I guess I can consider myself very lucky because I have all three programs. I have one developmental preschool classroom, 2 Head Start classrooms, and 2 grant preschool classrooms that joined me this year. And so when they asked me for a quote, I thought, you know, what I was the most excited about this year was ensuring that all of the early child, I call them my little people programs, just because they walk around and you can always tell who they are because they're just so excited to be there. But was to ensure that our early childhood programs are part of the Village Meadows school team. I wanted the teachers, the parents, and the students to feel a part of our campus because it was important to me that they felt like they belonged there. They start from little and they grow with us, and that is my goal, is to be able to keep as many of those students at Village Meadows. So whether they leave Head Start, leave developmental preschool, I would love to see them stay within our program. I have tried to go above and beyond to make the families feel welcome so that they don't see it as, oh, I'm just going to be here for a year or two and then go to my homeschool. My goal is that they want to stay there. So when I send out my weekly s'more every Sunday, I make sure that my preschool parents get that newsletter, just like my kindergarten through 6th grade parents. I don't want there to be a distinction between them and us. They are us. And so I hope that they feel that, as well as our teachers, and being able to welcome 2 new classrooms. This summer was pretty exciting because three of the 5 classrooms have a brand new look, and it was fun. It was fun to see them set up. So this is part of what they did, called they flipped the classroom, and that is my developmental preschool classroom, and I think somebody else is going to talk a little bit about that, but those are the classroom on my campus. So pretty exciting stuff.
All right, and back to me. We also are really proud in our early childhood program of our outdoor classrooms. And so this is an opportunity for our students, our early learners, to interact with the environment. And outdoor classrooms, yes, even in the desert, we have outdoor classrooms. They can interact socially, intellectually with their environment. We have music stations. We have a lot of different areas that they can dig into, literally, including gardens. And this is really an opportunity for our students as well as our staff members to boost imagination and creativity. And if you haven't seen our outdoor classrooms, they are a sight to behold. Village Meadows is currently working on their outdoor classroom. They are a wonderful opportunity to visit and see students interacting with the environment. We've included some really fun preschool quotes here. One of my favorites is, if you're sticky right now, that's okay. Because if you're a developmental preschool teacher or a preschool teacher, you are usually sticky along with the students. So there's just some fun quotes here that we wanted to share with you. And the amazing Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers, was very in tune with our young learners. And so one of the quotes that we live by in our early childhood program is, play is often talked about as if it were a relief from serious learning, when in fact, but for children, play is serious learning. Play is really the work of childhood. And that is something that we hope everyone sees when they enter one of our early childhood programs, any of the 3 programs that we have in Deer Valley Unified School District. Play is serious learning, and it's fun learning. And with that, we're going to close with any questions. This is an example, these 2 pictures of our developmental preschool and our Head Start programs going on a shopping spree with the early childhood team to make sure that our classrooms are beneficial and up to date with the newest and greatest supplies. And if there are any questions, we are ready to answer.
Thank you all. Board members, are there any questions? Mrs. Fisher.
It's probably a really dumb question, but when I was familiar with developmental preschool, it was just developmental preschool. What is the difference? Developmental preschool versus Head Start? Is it the age? Is it the, because my little guy started at 3, straight into developmental preschool.
The age is the same.
It's funding.
Yeah, the age is the same. It's just that the Head Start is more income based and developmental is more for the kids with IEPs. But where we've branched out is some of the most of the developmental preschool teachers have one session a day that's their SPED classroom and one session per day that's their Gen Ed classroom, a lesser restrictive environment to put IEP kids in and have more peers. And then in Head Start, you can also have an IEP and be in there, but your needs have to be not as great because those teachers are not certified in special ed.
Anybody else? Mrs. Paperman.
Thank you for everything that you do. Looking at the classroom, it seems very welcoming and fun. I have a question. So the grant is strictly grant, so it's something that you have to apply every year in order to maintain the program?
The grant was actually a 2-year grant, so
Oh, it
we
is a
received
2-year.
both years already.
Okay, so it's every 2 year then that you,
It's unclear as to whether it'll continue after
okay,
those 2 years or if we need to be self-sufficient at that time.
okay, thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you all for the presentation. Appreciate your time with us this evening and that presentation. So our next presentation is on PLCs or professional learning communities. And for that, we will hear from Dr. Tunis.
Thank you. Good evening, President Ordway, Dr. Finch, members of the board. We are here tonight to talk about our journey and our PLC work in Deer Valley over the past year. I'd like to start by thanking my team, who's in the back, most of them. Although since PLCs are all about collaboration, we've kidnapped quite a few other members from other departments to be part of our team too. So I won't name them all because I would forget somebody. So Amy Moore, our PLC manager, is here with me, as well as Angela South, one of our PLC trainers. One of our goals in PLC work, obviously, is student learning, which is aligned to our first key strategic priority area. So we're just going to share some of our student data results. You can see from our AASA results for ELA that we are about 17% above the state average. For math, and this is 3rd through 8th grade, we are about 18% above the state average. Earlier today in our celebrations, we had our students with perfect scores. So as you know, we had 32 students who received the highest scale score in both math and ELA, and over 500 students receiving the highest scale score in one of the 2 areas. For ACT Aspire, this is the assessment that our 9th graders take. You can see at the district level, we are above the state average. At the national level, we are either just below, only in one area, or right at the national level, or just above it. And one thing to remember is that this is our state test, so about 95% of our students participate in this, whereas across the nation, typically just the higher achieving students participate. For ACT, we currently have our district scores against our state scores, and you can see that we are higher than the state average in each of those areas. And then for our science assessment, we just kind of crushed it. So we were between 18 and 22% above the state average for 5th grade, 8th grade, and 11th grade. Another way that we measure success in our PLC program is through our Highly Effective Teams Continuum survey. We've been administering this survey since 2018. The left columns show you how our school leaders rate themselves on this scale, whether they are developing or above. Developing is kind of like proficient on this scale. So you can see how we have grown from 2018 until the end of last year. And then our teachers as well have consistently rated themselves higher each year for the last 4 years, with 77% of our teachers feeling that their collaborative team is working at a developing or above rate. Now, this is one area we are so thankful for our early release Fridays, and we are really trying to communicate what we do on those Fridays and how powerful that work is to our parent community. So we've been working on this goal for the last 2 years, that our parents are aware of what we do on the early release days and that work is meaningful. So while our scores have gone up, 11% in one area and 2% in the other, we're still going to continue to work on that communication, on that work that is happening on Fridays. Right, I'm going to hand it over to Ms. Moore.
Thanks, Paula. Good evening, President O'Brien, members of the board, Dr. Finch. So how do we take a district the size of Deer Valley and become collective in our common language, our common process, common focus? One way that we've done this is by taking a representative from every school and bringing them together and helping to build their skills, build their capacity, build their competency, their schema, share artifacts, learn from each other, and then take those ideas and bring them back to their schools, teach their collaborative teams, teach new teachers, share ideas with their school leaders, and build opportunities to learn and grow in their own school. We call this our Model PLC Teacher Leader Program. We had our first meeting last night, and this morning I received an email that said, hey, thanks for such an energizing night. I've already shared a few ideas with our collaborative team just from the ideas I got from our table. So it's really building capacity with each other. These are some of our statistics. So overall, we've been able to help guide over 100 teachers within the PLC process and building skill competency. Here's some of our faces from last night as our first training happened. Vibrant group, great crew, sharing ideas, lots of laughter. Even Paula mentioned she was in the room next door and her participants wanted to come to our room. So
that's so rude.
Lots of fun going on, but lots of learning, just building competency. We know that when you are competent in what you do, it builds confidence. Here's some of our teacher leader quotes. One thing that really resonates with us as we read quotes from model teacher leaders is what shines through is we're not only building their skill set, but we're building leaders and we're building their leadership capacity. A lot of them talk about how they now lead other teams or lead professional learning on their campus. Some of our model PLC teachers have gone on to become inspiring leader program and assistant principals and even PLC trainers, as you'll see in just a moment. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Angela South. She is one of our former model PLC teacher leaders, and she is now a part of our team.
President O'Brien, board members, and Dr. Finch. I'm very excited to share with you my PLC journey. I started my journey as a kindergarten teacher and became a model PLC teacher. So I went through year 1, year 2, and year 3 as a model PLC teacher, learning from Amy and other trainers. I took those skills that they taught me back to my team, and you talk about lighting a fire, but really it was like lighting fireworks. I went back to my team. I was able to share stuff. It got our team excited, and our scores went sky high. We made over a year and a half growth within 1 year. The first year, the second year we made even more, and then we couldn't really see the results because then we went into COVID years. But it was really exciting to see the growth in the students, the excitement on my team, And being able to do all that as I turned into a reading specialist, I was able to bring that to many teams. So then instead of just lighting some fireworks within the kindergarten land, I was able to light it through K3. Becoming a model or becoming a PLC trainer, I feel like now I'm pyrotechnics. I get to light that everywhere. So last night I was able to participate in training teachers for year one model leader teachers. And I just want to say what the program does is so beneficial to teachers, to students, to communities. It's just a really great thing, and I'm proud to be a part of it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Angela. We're working on building capacity amongst our schools. So our Model PLC Teacher Leader program is one way we do that. Another way we do that is through our campus intervention coordinators. So we currently have 44 campus intervention coordinators. We added this position under the guidance of Brittany Dooling, and you saw her husband honored tonight as well. One of our main pieces of our strategic plan is multi-tiered systems of support. It comes in our key strategic priority area 1. And when we had the futures report, one of the pieces of advice that came out of it was that we really needed to work on and MTSS is part of that common language. And so this team works on that. They work in 2 really specific areas. 1, on helping to guide their guiding coalition, and 2, they lead their site intervention team on their campus. Here are some quotes from we call them KICs, our campus intervention coordinators, but they're very similar to the Model PLC teacher leader, and that they are becoming leaders on their campuses. Their goal really is to be gurus in Tier 3 interventions and to help their administrators and their guiding coalitions and their intervention teams understand those interventions and understand the data, and then take that data back to the team so that they can help implement the necessary interventions for our students.
May 2022 earmarked our very first PLC Summit. Its intention was designed to bring professional learning to all of our teachers in a very diverse way and really be strategic with where we're at. What do our teachers need? We tried to replicate some of the national conferences that we have been to, but we wanted to make it really streamlined to where Deer Valley's at, what our teachers' needs are, and we wanted to have it here right in our backyard. So with that, here are some of the statistics. A great deal of planning went into this event. We worked with about 52 presenters. So our presenters were teachers, school leaders, district leaders, and they provided over 87 sessions of differentiated training sessions that were really geared to where we're at strategically within our professional learning communities. Logistically, we held it at Barry Goldwater High School. Special thank you to Barry Goldwater's admin team. They were fabulous in helping us gear up and get ready and use their site. We also had marketing, communication, district-wide. Thanks to Monica and Kayla, their team really helped us very strategically with communication. And we weren't sure what the turnout would be. We weren't sure. Our very first one, and we weren't sure what the vibe would be coming right off of school year, heading into summer. We were blown away. So we had over 800 teachers that participated. The vibe was electric. There was energy, enthusiasm. Our teachers came ready to learn. Walking through some of the sessions, you would see teachers learning, asking questions, taking notes. Just the amount of learning, the amount of energy, the camaraderie was fantastic. We had a little fun at the summit as well, bringing in some energy, bringing in some camaraderie with each other, just building some of the spirit. And here's some of the quotes from the breakout sessions that we learned, our teachers learned from. One of my favorites is talking about their favorite part was seeing how everyone worked together to help grow our district's knowledge. We're very, very, we take a lot of pride in Deer Valley of our collective efficacy, being very collective in our processes, and I think that showcases it.
Another goal that we are really working on is cross-department collaboration. As I mentioned in the beginning, PLC work doesn't belong just in our department, in DEO and our PLC training team. It really belongs across all of our departments. And so we are working together on developing common language, common vocabulary, common messaging. We have a monthly meeting set up with our curriculum instruction and assessment members, as well as with our teacher mentors, because these are the people who are mostly in the classroom talking with teachers, and we want to make sure that we are saying the same thing. So up here we have our last meeting. This was our goal of what we've been working on, is how we guide teams through um, focusing on essential standards for each unit of study. And that's a very complex question that we're continuing to work on between our departments. One of the ways that we do that is we are developing what our common messages are. This is our unified why. These are 4 huge areas that we are working on across our district. So we thought it would be helpful if we had common definitions. So we came up with these definitions. We vetted them at our pre-K-12 admin meeting this summer. We took input, we redesigned them, and then we published them. And I know people are using them because I get request access. So the word is getting out. But I won't read all of these. I just provided them so that you have the common definitions that we are using throughout our district in these really 4 big areas.
One of our strategic areas, as you saw defined, is teacher clarity. And that is taking those broad standards that are essential for our students and breaking it down into very strategic skills, skill-based instruction. And we have to build competency within that. So it's another part of our team is going out and helping train and teach teachers how can you take these standards and break them down so that we're very clear in what students need to know. I like teacher clarity. There was so much clarity. That's a great quote. Pretty much what it is. And it's not only teachers becoming clear in what students need to know, but they then make sure their students are very clear in what they need to know.
So teacher clarity goes right into rubric writing, which we've been doing a lot of over the past year, is creating common rubrics. That's really just part of the PLC work, part of question 1, what do we want our students to know and be able to do? And then question 2, how will we know? So we always start our rubric training with a tightly wrapped, unwrapped standard because it's the easiest way to write an effective rubric. So we've been doing a lot of rubric writing, as I mentioned. The last 2 days, we were working with the ELA 1-2 teachers from all 6 of our high schools, including Aspire. And our task was to agree upon unwrapped standards and then to create common rubrics at the essential standard level, and then to break them down and create common rubrics at the learning progression. So this team actually was able to create rubrics for 8 essential standards, including their learning progressions. And they worked so diligently. They had great feedback on the process, feeling that the work that they did was meaningful. I'll read you one quote from this just happened today. So they said, common language and expectations not only on our campus, but now across the whole district. Using outcomes in Canvas will help everyone be more objective and unbiased when grading, and students will know exactly what's expected of them. So we have next week we're meeting with ELA 3-4 and then 5-6, and then we move into math in November when our math CIA comes back, and we'll be working with Algebra 1-2, Geometry, and Algebra 3-4. Project Momentum is another way that we build capacity in our district. We are very thankful for the grant money that we receive from Governor Ducey's office to support Project Momentum. This is a timeline. We began with Project Momentum in 2018 with 3 schools. We added 4 more schools the next year, and then last year we were lucky enough to add our final 3 schools. So now we have a total of 10 schools, and we've received quite a bit of money every year to support mostly release time and professional development. Here are some of our stats. In these 10 schools, we have 833 teachers, and we had 287 of them this summer participate in summer work. So that equaled, we paid about 1,026 teacher days or 7,000 teacher hours of collaboration all through the grant. That is powerful, powerful work. We meet with these teachers at the end of the summer. They share their artifacts. They learn from each other. They share their artifacts with each other. It really is making a difference in our classrooms. This is a video that we're not going to show, but Kellen Chavez from O'Connor High School created this name and need generator. It's a way to capture student data. You can click on it in board docs and watch it. It's 4 minutes long. It's very informational. But the teachers, they can take a common formative assessment from Canvas, they can paste it into here, and you can see that it creates a graph so that a team can look and see how their students are doing on one particular assessment. If you clicked on the next sheet, you would see a heat map that shows all of the students and how they fall in the different proficiency levels. And then the teachers can then take a group of students and paste them into e-hall pass so that they can assign them to come and get interventions with them. So it's quite an advanced tool. Kellen is very brilliant. He started using it at O'Connor in 2018. They've had 15 teams using it. Then it expanded to Goldwater, where their 3-4 team was using it. And Kellen and Tate Moline from Goldwater, they shared it at the summit with lots of schools, and now we have extended to more teams at Goldwater and also to Mountain Ridge High School. So I encourage you to take a look at that name and need generator. PLC Fridays, I can't say enough that we're thankful for them. The feedback that we hear is overwhelmingly positive. So we appreciate the 90 minutes. We're going to continue to share out the work that we do during that time. Through this time, we've had, as a district, we were named Model PLC District. Constitution started us off as a national Model PLC school, and since we have added 2 more Model PLC schools with Mountain Shadows Elementary and Anthem. You can see from this quote that our teachers truly value the time to come together and work. Here's one that I love and we're talking about building capacity throughout this program of how the teachers work together. If you know Mr. Lane from Sierra Verde, he posted, like, I just don't know what I do without my PLC. And then Miss Olson, she's a teacher from Norterra Canyon who's not even in their PLC, is commenting on how inspired she is from the work that they do and that they post on Twitter. It shows the collaboration and how important it is to our teachers. When I came into the board meeting tonight, one of our principals came up and said one of her teachers had a release day for a multi-school team today and posted on Facebook how appreciative she was of the time, how meaningful it was, how much work they were accomplished, and how appreciative she was of the district and the governing board for the release time and for her substitute teacher. So for continued learning and professional development, our team, we engage in a lot of professional development, book studies that we do here amongst departments, amongst our own department. We attend virtual conferences. We attend conferences locally, and we have attended one out of state, and we're looking to go to another one out of state upcoming. Where we use this learning is in all of these stats that we showed you. We bring it back to our Model PLC teacher leaders, to our campus intervention coordinators, to our summit with all of the teachers that come in the summer. I didn't put in here our January 2nd release day when we come back as an entire professional development. We offer offerings to all of our teachers in the district on that day. Teacher clarity training, project momentum training, panorama training that we don't have in here. And these are some of the ways that we support our teachers throughout the district. So if you have any questions, we'd be happy to take them.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tunis and Amy and Angela for joining us this evening. Questions, board members? Mrs. Reed?
I don't know that it's a question more than a comment, and maybe something to think about as we move forward. I had an opportunity to sit in on a multi-school collaborative team a few weeks ago, and it was really eye-opening to be able to watch and listen and see all of the steps and all of the hard work that goes into firsthand rather than just hearing about it at a board meeting. We've heard about it for 4 years, but it was neat to be able to see how the teachers bring everything together, and they were able to walk me through the whole process of what they had done earlier in the day, where they were at, and then what the next steps were going to be as they took what they were working on into their classroom and what that looked like and how they would teach it and do the assessment, and then they would, what they would do next with bringing it back. And so I wish that there were other opportunities to be able to see firsthand, because there's so much that's, even though you do great presentations and you always provide all of the information that we ask, there's so much that's lost in context when you can't experience it firsthand. And I was lucky enough to be at, I think, the first PLC training, or one of the first ones that you did right when we started to roll them out, and that was really eye-opening to see the teachers collaborate together for the first time. So I would be interested in seeing how the CICs work together with the teachers and how they collaborate and how that whole system flows together. So, but that's just, I like to understand things at that level, because when I'm up here and I'm making decisions and understanding what we're asking of our teachers and how much extra work it is to unwrap all of those standards and to make all of the rubrics, and it just helps provide a little bit more context and clarity. So thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you all. So appreciate your time and your presentation this evening. With that, we will move on to consent agenda. I'm sorry. I apologize, Mrs. Mock, for a couple of reasons.
Was that her early
Finance
birthday present?
report is so important, and we want to make sure to acknowledge you on this very important birthday. Happy birthday, Mrs. Mock.
President O'Brien, members of the board, and guests, thank you
look
very
at her
much.
just ignore that.
I know. Thank you. I appreciate the birthday wishes. Thank you very much. And there will be no quick change of the front panel for the finance reports this evening. It will just be me, so I apologize that I did not bring my A-team with me.
I think you are the A-team.
Thank you. The first report we're going to start with this evening is our enrollment report ending August 31st. This is our first of many enrollment reports for the school year. We will be back at the first meeting each month to present again. Despite the positivity from the first three reports this evening, I am a little disappointed to report that our enrollment is down 0.5% from the same time. We are already seeing a little bit of that gap coming in since the report ending August 31st. But this time last year, we had 32,925 students. We have decreased slightly to 32,762 students. Overall, we have an increase in enrollment at our high school level, which I think we were seeing at this time last year as well, but a slight decrease at our K-8 level. And with that, I will answer any questions that I can. I will add, though, before that, we will continue to monitor enrollment and trends and see where we might find where our students, we might not be capturing those students.
Mrs. Ordway?
If in the Friday report, if you get to it by this Friday, if you could look at the trends for you said 7th and 8th grade or K-8, if there's certain regions or just in particular certain schools, if you could, when you get that, if you could send it to us, that would be awesome. Thank you.
Okay, hearing no others. Your next report.
President O'Brien, members of the board, and guests. We are now presenting the M&O budget report ending August 22. We are, this one as well, our expenditures to date are tracking fairly normal considering if we're looking at the last 2 years. We do have quite a bit committed budget balance remaining in our staffing for certified, classified, and transportation payroll, more than you might see at that column at this time. A lot of that is attributed to our vacancies in both certified and classified ranks. The reason that we continue to hold those in committed budget balances is where it comes more into the potential bad news moving forward into the school year. And those are some of the notes that you'll see at the bottom of the report. We do, if you'll remember back in July when we approved our budget, we had designed our working budget to include any legislative changes that we knew up until that time. The legislature came in with additional budget increases right before we adopted our budget, and we were able to adopt it officially with an additional $13 million that had not gone through our negotiated solutions team and the process of allocating and being approved by the board. So that additional $13 million is represented at the bottom of the report, and that will be going through the NST team for that team to make a recommendation to the governing board for potential expenditures in this school year. So that is currently represented at $13 million in potential carry forward until we bring that to you. However, if you look just below that, there is a rather large number of $43.5 million that could be presented as a potential budget reduction in this school year as well. Some of you may remember the aggregate expenditure limit, and that last school year we had issues with the AEL, or aggregate expenditure limit. And this is a formulated issue that is not representative of anything that any public school district has done wrong in the state of Arizona. I want to make sure that everyone understands that. We established our budgets based on the statutory base support levels, in all of the increases that we were allocated to us by the legislature to budget. But on the other hand, there is the aggregate expenditure limit that was established in 1980. So over 4 decades ago, the aggregate expenditure limit determined for the state as a whole for public education, excluding charter schools, how much comprehensively all of the school districts could budget. And unfortunately, at this time, with all of the new monies that were added into the formula, into the expenditure portion of the formula, or the revenue portion of the formula without updating the expenditure portion of the formula, the state is over the aggregate expenditure limit by about $1.3 billion. And so Deer Valley's estimated share at this time is $43.5 million. The legislature does have until March 1st to allow public school districts as a whole to exceed that limit for this school year. If they do not, then we have basically then until April to make those reductions. We were faced with the same issue last year, and last year the legislature did come through and permit school districts to spend the funds that had been allocated to them by the state, and we are hopeful that that will continue. That will happen again this year. Only time will tell. And we are remaining very cautious, and that's why we're keeping any unspent or committed budget balances hesitant to count it as carry forward, because if that's not resolved, all of those funds would be placed toward the aggregate expenditure limit budget reduction. In addition, we do have a footnote that 1% of our average daily membership, if we are not able to make up that slight reduction at this time, is equivalent to about $2 million of our budget. As a reminder, we did budget with a 1% increase to our ADM. We expected actually to have growth and not to see the slight reduction that we're seeing now. So we may not only have to make up a slight reduction in the actual enrollment, but then from our projected as well. So we are doing very well with our spending, but those two budget items may counteract any of the savings that we have seen to date. But we will continue to report on this again at the first meeting, the first board meeting of each month, and to provide any updates as we receive them, even if it's prior to the first board meeting of each month, so that we can make the decisions that we need to make to either spend or reduce the budget. and I will take any questions on the M&O budget.
Any questions? Mrs. Paperman.
So the $13 million, how is that going to be allocated? Is that going to go to teacher and classified salary, a percentage, or like how is it going to be allocated?
It's going through the process of the negotiated solutions team right now, and so the proposal has not been made, but as soon as that proposal is ready, it will be brought to the board for formal approval. There is a very high likelihood that that entire 13 million would be recommended to spend on salaries, but until we get through the process, we won't know for sure, but the governing board will have final approval.
Okay, that'll be great, especially, for our teachers and classified. We have schools that we cannot even get cleaners. If we can give them a good raise, we can retain and hire more people. Thank you.
Mrs. Mock, you said the NST will begin discussing the 13 million. When are those discussions supposed to start?
They started today before the board meeting and continue on the same dates that we make the reports. So typically we meet the first Tuesday or the second Tuesday of the month prior to the board meeting.
Okay. But should the legislature choose not to grace us with an AEL extension or actually fix the entire problem, that those dollars will need to be used to give back to the state, correct?
President O'Brien, potentially yes. And so I think what we've done in those situations with the NST in the past, and even did with some potential budget factors into this school year, is bring the recommendation as trigger language. That if the AEL is corrected, then we would use these funds in this manner and ask the board to approve it that way.
Okay, so the fix that occurred last year was a single year fix. The legislature did not implement a long-term fix for our school budgeting issue.
Unfortunately, they did not.
Okay, thank you very much. Move on to consent agenda. We have no public comments this evening, therefore we'll move on to consent agenda.
All right, I would ask that the governing board approve consent agenda items 5A through, what is that?
5J.
5J.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Oh, hold on.
Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Was everybody able to register their vote electronically? Mrs. Fisher's did not come up. Could you? Mrs. Fisher voted aye. Thank you. Item 6A.
Here we go. All right, I would have to ask, I would ask that the governing board approve employee out-of-state travel per governing board policy, GCCE.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Mrs. Fisher is stuck. Did you voice vote aye? Okay, Okay, motion passes unanimously. Item 6B.
I would ask that the governing board approve policy JLCB immunization as recommended.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions?
No.
Mrs. Fisher?
In looking at the policy, I expressed some concern before. I had it up before I started trying to vote. I'm concerned that we are not, the way the policy is written really gives people the impression that they don't have a choice, even though it hints that they have a choice. I would just prefer that we add, even just into like the second paragraph on page 2, that, that they need to receive either the immunization or exception paperwork. I think my internet died is what it is. It's not coming up.
Did you submit language that you wanted added?
No.
Okay, so I would, I understand your desire to make that more explanatory to.
I'm just making it known because I don't have an avenue to submit stuff, but in most cases. So, but I'm just making my statement on what I believe is lacking in this. But I mean, we could just vote on it if we don't have time to do it here.
Well, those changes would have to go through an attorney, so we can't.
Okay.
So in order, so I appreciate that. Any other? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. The motion passes 4-1. Sorry, I was having trouble getting back to. Were you, is Mrs. Taylor, are you able to register Mrs. Fisher's votes for her? Thank you so much. Okay, item 6C, please.
Okay. I would ask that the governing board accept the administration's recommendation for pre-approval of the agenda as presented.
I second.
Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed, please say nay.
This has student activities on it. I will vote nay.
So the motion passes 4-1. Item 6D.
I would ask that the governing board accept the administration's recommendation to approve the revised K-12 use of facility field fee schedule for 2022-2023.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. Mrs. Mock?
President O'Brien, members of the board, and guests, we realized while working with some of our renters this year that our fee schedule did not include a clear or any clear language for cancellations. And our practices, therefore, were inconsistent because we didn't have anything in writing. And then, of course, our renters did not know what to expect if they canceled. And we actually found in a couple cases where we had some renters with a significant number of no-shows, no cancels, in which case the school had prepared for the rental or potentially prepared for the rental. And it wasn't until we invoiced the renter that we learned that perhaps they had not used that room at all. And so we are presenting language for the fee schedule that would clarify any of our facility use changes and cancellations. We do believe that any changes or cancellations made more than a month in advance is more than enough notice and would not cause any undue fees to be charged, such as the district paying utilities or the school having to prepare. So we're recommending that there be no change fees or no cancellation fees for any of those rentals from an in-place contract that were made within a month. And if it is a change to a contract that happens within a month, we recommend the $25 change fee. The $25 change fee previously had been listed as something that we basically may or may not charge you. Cancellation fees, then, we recommend a staggered scale starting at a month, and that anywhere from 4 weeks or more, no cancellation fee. From 2 to 4 weeks of the scheduled event, 25% of the rental contract, excluding utilities, because that gives us plenty of time to make sure that we've scheduled the utilities to be off in any of those after hours, or any of the after hours utilities to be scheduled off. If it is same day but before the start of the scheduled event, up to 2 weeks prior, we do recommend 50% of the rental contract, including 50% of the utilities, because we may not actually have the opportunity to get the utilities turned off if it is that same day. And then for those no-show, no cancels, where there's no notification to the facility use specialist or the campus, we do recommend 100% of the rental and the utility fee, because we would be incurring the utility fee ourselves. Now, these would be for renter cancellations if the school needed to cancel, or sometimes, there is a bump of an event from a renter because we have an event of our own. We would obviously not charge the renter anything at that time. These would only be for changes made by the renter. And the only thing we ask is that those be made in writing to the facility use specialist, because the emails then are preferably by email, because those are date and time stamped, and we can verify without argument that those were made by the required deadlines. With that, I will take any questions about the suggested change to the cancellation and change policy for facility use.
Would this go into effect immediately?
If approved this evening, President O'Brien, it would be for any contracts. Well, the board could advise differently, but my recommendation would be for any contracts that are signed after today under this current fee schedule.
And so, let's say we have somebody who has contracted to rent a large number of our fields. And so because they're already under contract, they would not, if they just no-showed for 50% of those events, they would receive no penalty because they're already under contract for those.
President O'Brien, a second option would be to send out the new policy to all of the renters and give them an option to opt in or opt out with the new language. So
when you say opt out, then that would give them the option to break their contract at no penalty at this point. If they opt in, they would choose to keep their dates, and understanding it would be under the new rental cancellation fee policy.
Correct. We could manage that as well.
Okay, your staff could you have the capacity to manage that. Questions, board members? Mrs. Reed, sorry.
So I know that last year we had quite a bit of rentals that we weren't able to fulfill because of staffing issues. Where is that communicated in the contract somewhere that that our renters are signing about the possibility of what our cancellation policy is for the district, and what the notification process is?
President O'Brien, Mrs. Reed, we do have a document on the website, on the facility use page of the district website, that is called Facility Use Guidelines. And I believe there's mention of that in there. We actually just posted a new version of that today. It really is something that was newer as of last year, as we've started to face the staffing challenges. I think for the most part, and I would have to double check to see if I'm speaking incorrectly or not, we are not accepting contracts versus when there's not staff available versus having to cancel contracts. So I think most of those where we don't have the custodial staffing or the staffing at the school to manage the rent, we're able to manage that at the contract application time versus someone submits a contract and then we have to say, I'm sorry, your contract is canceled. Although there have been a couple cases where it's maybe 1 or 2 dates that let's say a school only has half of their custodial staffing and is still able to manage the rentals. If one of those individuals has to take an absence, then perhaps there might be a day or two where they're not able to facilitate that rental.
Okay, I just know that with all of the storms that we've had, and I know that was an unprecedented amount of storms and storm damage, but some of the schools were flooded and some of the classrooms were flooded. it would just make me feel more confident that we have language that's there and that that our renters know, there's a possibility that something might happen, an act of God, the field isn't able to be played on because it's raining. Like, obviously that's common sense type things, but I want to make sure that that's written somewhere that renters are seeing and that they understand, and maybe they're signing in part of their contract that they received that paper of all of those notices.
President O'Brien, Mrs. Reed, I can include some of the additional documentation that we have on the site in the next Friday update. And if we need to make changes, we can discuss it after tonight too.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Swordway?
I was just going to ask if you could send what we have, because I'm sure that somewhere within that we have covered the quote unquote act of God situation. So it would be great. Friday update sounds full already.
Mrs. Fisher? Was that, no? Okay. Okay. I guess the only thing for discussion potentially is I'm concerned about us, how many folks we have under contract already and what the impact is. You believe, Mrs. Mock, if we're in a good enough situation to let it go as is, or if you believe we should send out new language for an opt-in or opt-out.
President O'Brien, members of the board, I think it is okay to approve as is for the fee schedule. I think the implementation is something that doesn't need to be written in the schedule itself, and we can manage that through emailing the renters that we have currently and contacting them and giving them that opportunity.
So approve the language as is, but with the direction that offer the opt-in versus an opt-out. I apologize, I didn't express myself well. Okay, are board members good with that opt-in versus opt-out? Okay, then all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. And hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Item 6E.
I would ask that the governing board accept the emergency procurement report. This is in dark green highlight, which is why I can't read it, outlining the purchase and installation services of a new uninterrupted power supply from Gruther Industries. Is that what that says?
Yep.
Yes.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
I have a motion and a second. Mr. Miglerino.
President O'Brien, members of the board, Dr. Finch, as we have shared, we had an unfortunate event in August, storm-related. It did damage our uninterrupted power supply that houses all of our technology for the district, rendering it inoperable for the morning following the storm. We bypassed that piece of equipment, but needed to replace it to be able to ensure that we would have a secure environment in light of the storms that were just referenced in the previous discussion of the agenda item. But we were fortunate to find a unit, but it was an emergency, as this particular location houses all the technology for the district. So we were able to find a unit that was able to be hot swapped into place. So it was the exact replica of what was damaged. And we just, because it exceeded $10,000 per the board policy, this required it to fall under the emergency procurement guidelines. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Miglerino, for that explanation. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing no ayes, the motion passes unanimously. We'll move on to preview items 7A through 7E, or Dr. Zurbach. So I'm just going to say, you start us off there. Go.
Thank you, President O'Brien, members of the board, Dr. Finch. This evening, we do have 6 policy previews. As you already indicated, President O'Brien, I will take the first 5, and then Dr. Smith will take the 6. These previews are a result of recent legislation that has been passed, and so as such, we do have updates to several policies. Okay, the first one that I am bringing before you is policy IMD. This policy has updated language about our moment of silence. In the new language, it extends the amount of time that is given for the moment of silence to 1 to 2 minutes. And it also has language indicating that teachers may not tell the children what to meditate on. This does not have a major impact on us. As you know, our current policy IMD, we already have what we call a period of meditation in our current policy, which says not to exceed a minute. So in this particular policy preview, it would extend the time for it, but a minor change. The next policy I'm bringing before you is JICF. This policy speaks to hazing. The change to this policy is that the definition of hazing is now linked directly to the criminal statute. But again, as I stated in the previous slide, this does not have an impact for us. Hazing was already prohibited by our school district. It is both in policy and on our SR&R. But it is a reflection of the recent legislation as far as what's stated. Okay, the third policy is JJIA, which has to do with intramural sports. This is a new policy for us. It will probably make more sense when I go to the following policy, which is with the interscholastic sports. But there was recent legislation that calls for some limitations on who may participate in sports in our schools. This particular one speaks to intramural sports, and the policy would not allow males to compete in a female sport. The fourth policy is JJIB. This is our interscholastic sports. So this is where our high school athletes compete. This is the same language, but instead of impacting intramural sports, it is our interscholastic sports. And the final policy that I am bringing forward for preview is JLCC. This is a result of the House Bill 2616, which states that we may not require a face covering on our students. Again, this does not change anything for us in Deer Valley, as we do not require face coverings, and nor have we done so for more than 15 months here in the district.
Thank you, Dr. Zurbach. Dr. Smith, item 7F.
President O'Brien, members of the governing board, the final policy we're bringing you tonight is JRR, student surveys. And similar to most of the policies with the recent legislation, results in the modifying revised statute 15117, removing the requirement that the survey, that in order to get permission or consent for the survey, you have to retain the survey for more than 1 year. So that is taken out. Whether you retain it for 1 day or forever, you still have to get consent now. It also modifies the timing of the consent, and it requires that a copy of the survey is available to parents. It resulted in minor changes to that section of the policy. The other change in the policy was to move the list of survey items or survey categories out of the policy itself and into a regulation. So the categories of surveying, things you have to get consent on, stay the same. In the bill and in the law, we've just moved them per ASBA to a regulation instead of in the policy.
Excellent, thank you. If there are any questions or concerns, we could please email those, or if you have them right now, please feel free to ask them. Okay. Governing board reports, Mrs. Fisher.
First, I want to congratulate all the students who were honored earlier this evening. I tried to listen, but when you're driving, you kind of sometimes can't get it. So I will go back and listen. I think it's wonderful that they are able to pass with such high scores, and I know their parents are involved as well. And so I really, the parent involvement really shows. We did go to the law conference. I was happy to see that Miss Paperman did attend, and we were able to spend a lot of our classes together and go over a lot of different things and how the law basically changes every year and changes things. But at each involvement, you do get something different. Now, one of the biggest questions that I've received was why would I go to an ASBA event? Why would I support ASBA? And I'll say it here. I know that there are districts that are leaving ASBA, and I'm not saying Deer Valley wouldn't, but I don't believe in throwing the baby out with the bathwater. There was a day when ASBA was a truly bipartisan organization. And yeah, it's skewed off to the side and there's issues, what have you, but there's issues in every organization. And the best thing, in my opinion, to do is to try and fix them. So that's why I went. So for those who've asked the question, that's my reason. My first involvement with ASBA was in 2010. 2010 to 2022 is a very different organization. But that doesn't mean it's a wasted organization. The first several days were very good. We gathered a lot of information. Some of the main topics were rights of the board, rights of the public, rights of teachers, rights of students. One of the big topics is the rights of parents. It's clear, based on our legislative changes, that parents are taking back control of their children. The second one that I thought was really cool is that our policies are customizable. I have never heard ASBA say that before, but they actually said it this time. Because they are. Boards can adjust the policies, and not every adjustment has to go to a lawyer when you're changing a word if it doesn't change the meaning. So it was refreshing to me to hear ASBA say, you can change our policies to fit your local control. The third thing that I really find awesome is I get to spend time with some very experienced superintendents and see some of the things that they do and kind of work through questions that I may have. There was a superintendent who his board meetings used to go till after midnight, and he shared that they're now about a half hour long. And I just had to go talk to him and say, how did you do that? How did you do that? And we had about a 45-minute discussion about building trust and building an inclusion within the organization and the community. And with trust comes a smoother operation. And so he had a lot of really great information, and I really appreciated that. That we also had the show I had referenced earlier, The Bad Kids, and I was sitting in the back like a bad student, conversing with the superintendent through part of it. And the one thing that we both noticed is we always catch the kids at the very top, and we always catch the kids at the very bottom, the ones that have, massive abuse at home or foster kids or things. But there's a whole section of kids in the middle that we tend to miss. And it was just an interesting discussion about focusing on some of those kids in the middle. I was pleased to hear in the public records two things. One, a public records request is not a Freedom of Information Act request. They are different. And I thought they were, and I thought, well, maybe I'm wrong. But they did confirm they are two different things. One is state, one's federal, and we fall under the state. The other thing that I thought was really, really good in the public records request, because, they always have individuals that complain, oh, it's cost us so much to do this. And their recommendation is just be transparent and honest. Put the records that are not going to contain, something that needs to be redacted, like bills or contracts or things of that nature. Put them on your website with a URL. And when somebody asks for them, send them the URL, no cost. The cost of an email. I thought it was really cool. One of the slides I actually posted, because it was like, my philosophy is actually a methodology. I was pretty impressed by it. It made me very happy. And the fifth one, I can't read my own handwriting. Well, I guess that's kind of it for the law conference. And how to protect ourselves, how to protect our employees and our parents. The other part of my board report, and I'll just state it, I have received more and continued comments about the standards-based grading. A lot of teachers have shared that basically nothing has changed. We're going full steam ahead. We just changed the name. They put in a 92 point whatever, it becomes they kind of explained it to me, but I'm not a teacher, so I didn't 100% understand it. But I know it was really stressing them out. So I really still think we need to have a discussion on the struggles that our teachers, our parents, our students are facing. It's if a teacher can't understand it, how can the parent? How can anyone else? So I still think that, I thought the board had given clear direction. Apparently not, because it appears to not be being followed. So that's it, though. Thanks.
Mrs. Reed?
Thank you. So I mentioned earlier about my visit to see multi-school collaborative team and process, and that was really neat. I'm thankful that I had the opportunity to do that, and then do a quick school visit and see some of the teachers working with students. It's always great to go into kindergarten classrooms. They're so much fun, and it really helps remind me of why I decided to run for the board at the beginning. So that was great. I also was able to go to Union Park and look at what they're doing for standards-based grading, and what that looks like in action, from kindergarten all the way to middle school, in PE and in their Spanish immersion classes. So it was neat to see how they're using that at all different grade levels and subject areas. What I shared with Dr. Finch was that, not being able to go into classrooms during COVID was really difficult, because we had to hear everything second and third hand, and it kind of shot us. We shot ourselves in the foot by not being able to allow us to go in and see all of the things that were being presented to us at the board meetings, how that actually looks in the classroom, and whether or not it was being done with efficacy. And so it was nice to be able to visit that classroom, or sorry, that school, and to get kind of a peek into their culture. With Union Park being new and opening during COVID, I haven't had the opportunity to go and visit there as much as I would have liked. So it was a great afternoon being there. I did get to go to the Barry Goldwater and Deer Valley football game, which was really great. It rained a little bit, and it was fun because I got to be a board member and a mom at the same time. And it was my daughter's first high school football game, and that's always really super memorable. I think I still remember my first. So that was neat. Also got to attend the ASBA Law Conference. That conference is actually one of my favorites because most of it's very factual. It's not an interpretation of, this is what I think, or these are what my beliefs are. It's, this is what the law is, and this is what happened at the last legislative session, and this is how it affects our schools and your district. And it's a great time for question and answers. And there's a lot of really good information that was presented this year because the laws were so different and very impactful for public education. And there were a lot of questions that board members had. One of the conference breakout sessions I attended talked about I think Mrs. Fisher said board rights and responsibility and things like that. And over the last 2 years, right, governing boards have come under a lot of scrutiny and been under a lot of pressure, and had eyes on us more than ever, I think, in public school history. And so one of the things that was brought up, and I think one thing that I touched on when I first became on the board 4 years ago, was our board ethics. And I think we did do a study session, or we did talk about board ethics at the beginning when I first came on. But we have a list of board ethics that are on the side over there that the public can't see. They're not listed on our governing board page. And so I would like to see those listed on our governing board page. So our parents and our staff members and our community members know what the things that the governing board has adopted and the way that we collectively decided that we would behave and how we would treat one another and how we would treat other people. And so I think that's important because that helps hold us accountable in our actions. It was also said that there's, if a board member is, let's say, behaving badly or doing something that the rest of the board members don't agree with, we really don't have any recourse. The legislature has not granted governing boards the authority to censure or discipline a fellow sitting governing board member. So whereas, in a political party, you can do that. Obviously, we've seen in the state legislature that they've censured members for poor behavior or poor choices, and that's not an option that governing boards have. So I think really just to be transparent and fair, when we agree on these board ethics, and I'd recommend that whoever is on the governing board next, that they read through those governing board ethics and they agree upon those. But that's really important that our community knows what those things are and how we're going to hold ourselves accountable and hold each other accountable. Touching on our test scores, I received my kids' scores and talk about the amount of work. I think we were all kind of leery about what our scores were going to be, right? The first year, kind of semi-normal year after COVID, and what the learning loss was and what the plan was going to be. And I don't want to sound like a bad parent, but I wasn't, yeah, bad parent, bad mom. I have a t-shirt that says "World's Okayest Mom," and I wear it with pride because it's how it is sometimes. However, I wasn't expecting a lot to see a lot on my students' test scores. It was a rough year, right? And they had come off of another year and a half of rough years. So, but to my pleasant surprise, two of my kiddos in 3 out of 4 of their tests almost got perfect scores. And so they have never scored that high. And so I was quite shocked. And so just, I think that goes to show the amount of hard work that our teachers did last year because they knew there was going to be learning loss. And with PLC time and the multi-school collaborative teams and working together to make sure that there was really reteaching going on when our students were showing that they needed to be retaught when they weren't understanding material. So thank you for all of your hard work last year, teachers, to that you anticipated that learning loss and that you put in the extra work to make sure that your students were learning what they needed to. So thank you, and I hope that everybody has a wonderful 2 weeks until we see each other again.
Mrs. Ordway?
Oh, let's see. So I had a couple more campus visits. They were very short, but it was nice just to feel the concrete beneath my feet and listen to the laughing and I don't know. It's just a great atmosphere to be on a campus. I had an interview with one of our students that's going to be an Eagle Scout, and his topic was school safety. And his questions were, what are you doing about it? What's your role in it? But the best question of all, and to me the most important question, and somebody or somebodies are doing something right, is what can we as students do to make this work better? So how awesome is that? The law conference, as usual, is very interesting. We did learn the difference between a FOIA request and a public records request. And what I got from that URL code was that if one entity already has asked for a voluminous amount of information, that you make that then available also, you just then put that on the website. But I think you could probably talk to Monica, if you get a hold of Miss Vega, she could tell you what they do. So that was very interesting. And most of it was to save the time and the staffing for things that perhaps could then get done without having to redo it. With the policy that we just went over for the sports, we did go over that also in the law conference. And if you are a biological male, you cannot go into the female sports. However, it doesn't go the other way. If you are a female, you can go into male sports. So I just wanted that out there in case we didn't know that. And I'm sure that has to do with Title IX at some point in time. We'll figure that out. Football games have been interesting. Went to the Boulder Creek game that I think Gary and Dr. Finch and perhaps Scott Warner left. The game, screaming, they scored. It was Boulder Creek and South Point. They came up from Tucson, 14-14. And I'm thinking, wow, I'm taking pictures and I see that light. This is not going to continue. So that continued to be stopped till 10:30 at night. And I know that we had another school also that's resumed the next day. So they got done at about 12 o'clock. They ended up losing, but it was quite the show. And nothing flooded, and there were no trees that broke. So I was just very happy about that. No trees broke. So I think that I'm going to talk to Scott as I get to do things with AIA now and find out if there's a reason why we don't have a limit at night. Because if the other coach had said, yeah, we're done because they did the third quarter, so the game was in the books, it could have been stopped because anybody that was there, whether it was a student, staff member, or parent, had already been up since probably 7 o'clock, and now they're not going to, those people from Tucson aren't going to get home till 3. So I just think it's dangerous for the kids. Anyway, so I'm going to bring that up. And all of those things in the Friday report, I think, are Heather's. So happy birthday to you. We appreciate you. And Mr. Miglarino and Heather, if you could sing happy birthday to Shelley tomorrow, we'd appreciate that also. Thank you.
Thank you all. One of the joys about following these ladies is they don't leave much left for me to say. I did get to sneak in a school visit to Union Park and was thrilled to get to go to that school. The last time I was there was the very distance outside only ribbon cutting. And so that was great to be in there and get to see some of what they're doing. The final thing I'll touch on is that I have been talking to Dr. Finch about a study session to talk about standard-based grading. And part of the difficulty with that has been that we volunteered to host elections in the governing board room. So that takes up a good chunk of the end of October into the first full week of November. So I would ask if we could look at the calendar for November 9th for board members and the conference room. We run out of time quickly there in November with where our meeting lies and the Thanksgiving break. With that, Mrs. Ordway, did you have?
I just wanted to ask you, so what would be the exit outcome that we're looking for a study session on standard-based grading? Like what are we looking for?
To see what happened after the first quarter of what we voted on and to hear from students, staff, and community or parents.
I just wanted to be clear that we're utilizing what we've already
It would be going from
experienced.
where we voted.
Okay, just a clarification.
Yes, ma'am. With that, Dr. Finch.
Thank you. Couple reminders of Deer Valley's impact in the state. In this very room, we host the superintendents from all over the state, and we do it a couple times a year here for regional meetings. And because of our awesome technology is why they use it. We can do up to 100, at least 100 folks from around the state. So it reaches our rural sectors a lot better than our other locations. So that's why they use us, and it keeps Deer Valley in the center of educational progress as well. So we take advantage of that, and they enjoy our facilities. I know our lunch ladies and Miss Sheila gets everyone in and out and taken care of, so we appreciate that. We also just had our Interfaith Council meet via Zoom. We meet a couple times a year. We have about 60 churches in our and synagogues in our boundaries, and so we get them together and talk about how we can support each other. And so our missions are very similar, trying to help our community, help our students. Obviously, Ms. Ordway has mentioned too, there are a lot of things happening in our system at the moment. Lots of athletic events, the fine arts and all those things are rolling as well. Last but not least, I want to also thank Jim, Jeff, and the teams that are keeping our buildings going. It seems like we are getting a storm every other night for some bizarre reason. And I thought we lived in Arizona, but it's more like we live in Louisiana. It's storm after storm after storm, and as soon as we fix one, another one arrives. So thanks to all the plant foremen and our facilities folks that take care of all these trees that fall over, places get flooded, and roofs get torn up. So, but we can do it without everyone working together, and getting those phone calls in the middle of the night are not fun, but our teams work together and we have school the next day. So I just want to say thanks to the teams that are doing that. Thank you.
With that, I would say that our future meeting dates are posted, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn at 9:42 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? You get to stay. Meeting's adjourned.